dance, celebrate with all we have, and we'll dance to thank you for mercy. Your glory taught us how to shout. We'll lift your name in all the earth, and we'll shout to the praise of your glory. It's the overflow for a forgiven soul. Now we've seen you, God, and our hearts cannot stay silent. And we'll be a dancing generation, dancing because of your great mercy, Lord. Your great mercy, Lord. And we'll be a shouting generation, shouting because of your great glory, Lord. Your great glory, Lord. Your mercy taught us how to dance, to celebrate with all we have, and we'll dance to thank you for mercy. Your glory taught us how to shout, lift your name in all the earth, and we'll shout to the praise of your glory. And it's the overflow of a forgiven soul. And now we've seen you, God, and our hearts cannot stay silent. And we'll be a dancing generation, dancing because of your great mercy, Lord. Your great mercy.
Good evening, Maranatha Camp. We are back for the second last time, sad, looking at the words that Paul, one of Jesus' closest followers, wrote to a church in a place called Galatia around 2,000 years ago. And what we've seen this week is that this church was under a lot of pressure to live a certain way as Christians. People were trying to teach them things that just were not true. They were saying that in order to follow Jesus, you had to add a lot of religious traditions onto your faith. And Paul, who is one of Jesus' followers, writes to them and says, that is false. That is fake news. Instead, as you live as a Christian, God's Spirit grows this fruit in you. That's what it looks like to live as a Christian. God's Spirit will grow love in you, joy in you, peace in you, patience in you, goodness in you. It's God that grows it in me. All I have to do is to read His Word, to pray to Him, to spend time with other Christians, and to welcome God's work in my life, to encourage it as I do all of these things that I've just mentioned. All I have to do is not resist it, and God will be the one who grows it in me. He is making me more and more into the likeness of Jesus. And this evening we're looking at faithfulness. Now I want you to think with me about the person that you can think of who you trust the most in life. Maybe it's a friend of yours. Maybe it is a family member of yours. Maybe it's a teacher who is a good teacher. They do exist. They are out there. Maybe it's somebody who just knows what he or she is talking about that you've seen online or you've spoken to in person, and you think that is somebody that I know I can trust. And if I asked you why you trusted this person, you would probably say something like, well, I know them pretty well, and they have shown me that I can trust them. They mean what they say what they mean, they stick to their promises, and they've never let me down. We would describe them as faithful. We would put our confidence and our faith and our trust in this person because they are reliable, and they've proven that again and again and again. And that is actually a big lesson for us as Christians to learn about God throughout the whole Bible. Especially in the Old Testament, the first half of the Bible. That shows us the history of God and His people. And what we learn is that God is faithful. And we learn the same lesson again and again throughout the whole of the Old Testament. And that is really important. It is really important that God is faithful, because He has made lots and lots of promises to you and to me as Christians. He has made promises that He will defeat sin and death. He has made promises that He will forgive us forever. And He has made promises that He will make the world new again. And if it turns out that God is not trustworthy, well, actually, all of these things are not certain. If it turns out that He's not reliable, that He's not faithful, that's really bad news for you and for me. It's so important for us to understand as best as we can just how faithful this God is of ours, even when we are not faithful to Him. And as God is at work in me as a Christian and in you if you follow Jesus, He is growing us by His Spirit to be more and more faithful people, to be people who look more and more like Him. So as we grow more and more into the likeness of Jesus, we will become reliable. We will become people who keep our promises. We will become people who are trustworthy. That's why it's really important for Christians to be faithful, for Christians to be reliable people. We're reflecting something of God's faithfulness. We're reflecting something of God's reliability when we are faithful and reliable. But God is also growing our faithfulness in another way. God is growing our faithfulness in Him. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say to you guys that at times I find it really, really hard to place my faith and trust in God. There's just lots of reasons that my head and my heart seem to come up with as to why I should be unsure or not certain about God. There are plenty of people and circumstances out there that would cause me to question my faith in Jesus. And you guys might know what I'm talking about. You might understand something of that. It might be something that you've seen on the news, or a conversation that you've had with somebody recently or a while ago. And it's just caused you to ever so slightly question whether or not God is faithful, and whether or not I can place my faith and trust fully in Him. Now, I think it's okay for us to acknowledge that that happens as Christians. God does not want us to cover our eyes and stick our fingers in our ears and just pretend that these things, these doubts that we have, don't exist. He doesn't want us just to put on a brave face and pretend that everything is great. He doesn't want us to never ever question what we believe. In fact, what the Bible shows us really, really clearly is that God invites us to take our questions to Him and to see how He answers the questions that we have. And so when we read about Him, when we read about His faithfulness towards His people in the Bible, that makes us sure that we can trust Him. We are seeing that He is reliable. We are seeing that He is faithful. And so God's Spirit grows our faithfulness towards the God who is so faithful to us. See, I think sometimes we have this impression, or other people can have this impression, that faith is kind of an uncertain thing. We put our faith in something or someone when we're not really sure. But actually, faith is something that we turn to on the back of evidence or facts. And I think that's quite interesting, because I think a lot of people seem to think that it's the opposite. People will say that actually when you run out of facts or you run out of evidence, that's where faith begins. But actually, God says that faith means looking at the evidence, looking at what He has done, and putting our trust in Him, given the evidence and given the facts. That means that we are able to believe everything that He has promised us. See, the more and more that you and I look at that evidence, the more you and I look at Him in His Word, the more reasons we have to place our faith in Him. Let me show you what I mean. If you've got a Bible, like this one right here, turn with me to Psalm 89. And if you don't know where that is absolutely fine. The contents page in your Bible is your friend. Hopefully has been your friend throughout the week. We're going to look at Psalm 89 together. I'll give you guys just a second to look it up as I also look it up. Psalm 89. I'm just going to read the first 8 verses of Psalm 89. This is what one of God's people around roughly 3,000 years ago, so right in the middle of the Old Testament, this is what one individual says about God. He says, "I will sing of the Lord's great love forever. With my mouth I will make your faithfulness known throughout all generations. I will declare that your steadfast love stands firm forever, that you have established your faithfulness in heaven itself. You said, I have made a covenant with my chosen one. I have sworn to David my servant. I will establish your line forever and make your throne firm through all generations. The heavens praise your wonders, Lord, your faithfulness too, in the assembly of the holy ones. For who in the skies above can compare with the Lord? Who is like the Lord among the heavenly beings? In the council of the holy ones, God is greatly feared. He is more awesome than all who surround him. Who is like you, Lord God Almighty? You, Lord, are mighty, and your faithfulness surrounds you. See how the author of this psalm lists so many reasons as to why we should place our faith and trust in God. His love stands firm forever. He has made a covenant, he has made a promise with his chosen people. He will protect his king forever. The heavens and the holy angels all praise the Lord. There is nobody, there is nothing that can compare to him. The psalmist thinks, the person who wrote this psalm thinks that there is no better, there is no safer place for us to place our faith than in the God who is so faithful to his people, to you, to me. And that is a faith that keeps this guy going who wrote this psalm, even when things are tough, even when things are hard. The Psalms are full of that. The Psalms are full of people saying, do you know what, Lord, things are really hard. Things are incredibly tough for me right now as one of your people. But I know enough about you and I've seen you work. And that evidence, knowing who you are, knowing what you're capable of, that means that I'm going to place my faith in you. We know that he is able to keep his people going, to keep his people trusting in him. He has done it time and time again. He has done it before, and he will do it until we are with him forever. And so whether faith in God is something that we find easy or something that we find hard, and I suspect that if you're a Christian like me, sometimes it'll be really easy, sometimes it'll be really hard. God's Spirit is growing that faithfulness in us to trust in him more and more each day. It's not a blind faith based on nothing. It's not based on wishful thinking. It is a faith that is based on who God is and what he has already done. So, as I close, let me ask you this. If you're a Christian listening this evening, and I'm really asking myself this question as well, if you're a Christian listening this evening, where are you tempted to doubt God? And what might it look like to be faithful instead? When are you tempted to doubt God, and what might it look like for you and for me to grow in faithfulness? If I'm being dead honest with you guys, I don't like seeing people that I know grow older, and all of the difficulties that come with that. It's when I see close family members of mine really struggle that I find myself clinging onto God with my fingertips. But actually, God has shown me again and again throughout the Bible, throughout his history with his people, that even in the face of illness and even in the face of death, he faithfully promises that it will not be the end for his people. He has faithfully shown me time and time again that he has conquered death and that one day he will completely swallow it up in victory forever. And so in my fear, I can turn to my faithful God and see that he is faithful towards us. And I can keep on placing my faith in him, knowing, just like the psalmist knows, that there is no better place for me to put my faith. So if you're a Christian this evening, where do you need to do the same? Something worth thinking about. If you're listening this evening and you're not a Christian, you're still just listening, you're really not sure, let me ask you this. Where do you place your faith and trust? Maybe it's in yourself, maybe it's in someone else, or maybe it's something that you've never thought of before. And sometimes these things do pull through. Sometimes we do amazing things. Sometimes people around about us are wonderfully kind and faithful towards us. But if we're being honest, we often let ourselves down. People often let us down. And things often let us down. God's promise to you is that if you trust in Him, He will always pull through. And the evidence that we look at in His Word shows us that He will. His plea to you is that you acknowledge that He is God, that you place your faith in Him, and that you know His faithfulness to you forever, as He gives you the gift of eternal life. So how do you respond to that offer? My suggestion to you is that is a much better, a much safer, and a wonderful place to be, rather than trusting and placing our faith in anything else in this world. It cannot give us what the God of the Bible offers us. And my plea to you is to really take His offer very, very seriously. Let me pray as we finish up. Father, thank you that you are so faithful to your people. Thank you that you are growing faithfulness in us. You're growing us to be more like Jesus, and so to be faithful towards others. But also you're helping us to place our faith and trust in you. And so I pray, Father, for everybody listening tonight who knows you and who loves you, that you would continue to grow that faithfulness in us, to help us to continue to place our trust in you. And Father, for those listening who aren't sure yet, I pray and ask that as we read more and more of what you have done for your people, you would help us to see how sensible it is, how good it is to place our trust and faith in you. And Father, I pray that that would happen this evening, or it would happen at some point in the future. All these things I ask in the name of Jesus, who is so good to us as our good and kind and faithful King. Amen. Amen. Thank you guys. See you tomorrow night.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
You are here.
You are here. Touching every heart, I worship you, I worship you. You are here, healing don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working.
Even when I don't see it, you're working. And even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. And even when I don't see it, you're working. And even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop shining in the darkness, and I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, and I will trust the promise that you will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore. In the silence you won't let go, and in the questions your truth will hold. Your great love will lead us through. lighthouse, and I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore.